Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to a very, very special edition of the Check Engine Podcast. You're tuned in to the only podcast produced by 3 winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. My name is Nick, and with me are the usual suspects, our writer Andrew, our producer / tech advisor Tristan. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing well.
And we also tonight have another person sitting behind a microphone, a very special guest. He is not just anybody. We didn't just find some rando on the streets to bring here to talk to. He is a real-life, in-the-flesh, in-person NASCAR driver is with us tonight. He drives the number 45 Prevagen Toyota for JP Motorsports in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Wisconsin's own Josh Bilicki is with us. What's going on, Josh?
Thank you for having me. I think you might have been better off finding a random person on the street.
Oh, no. Hype. NASCAR, man. This is real. You're the real deal. We just sit around and talk about stuff like a bunch of idiots. You do this.
I do. I'm very lucky.
I do.
As a matter of fact, I do. So, Josh, thanks for being here off of a season best finish
20th place
at the
That's
Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Not without a little bit of drama at the end there. You want to fill us in what was going on at that last restart?
Yeah. Well, first things first. We ran on a budget. We were on all used tires, so that's a win in itself. But with about 20 laps to go, we had our brakes started to go away. So. It's a little scary.
Where'd they go?
We lost them. We don't know where they went.
Started to go away. I like that.
If you find Josh's brakes, please inbox at checkenginepodcast.com and let us know where they're at so he can go pick them up.
There's a reward too. But in all seriousness, the pedal was firm and it just started going slowly to the floor, and it got to the point a couple times where it went all the way to the floor, and that's a little scary. So with about 9 laps to go, there was a restart. We restarted 9th, and that was a little hairy because you're up there with all the top drivers, top everyone, and not knowing if you have brakes going into turn 1 is a little scary. But I hung on to it and we finished 20th.
That's
well
amazing.
done.
Yeah. So wait, at NASCAR, we went to Mid-Ohio for our away race this time. Does NASCAR use the same start-finish line setup as IMSA, or?
Where it's like an offset.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we start the race on the backstretch, actually going into turn 4. That's where we start the race.
Right.
Everything else is done at the actual front straightaway.
Okay, yeah,
restarts and the finish line. So it's a little bit odd. There were probably some drivers scratching their heads while they were going around the pace laps, but I was used to it.
There you go. Awesome.
So cool.
You survived not having brakes, and you're here with us tonight. So how this is going to go, we're just going to try and make this like a conversation.
Yeah.
We're going to be real casual about it. We're going to throw some questions out. We're going to talk about it a bit. But because this is real casual, we want to make sure that you get all of your sponsors and all the people you need to thank out of the way first. We know how NASCAR drivers do it. We've seen Talladega Nights. Ricky Bobby thanking all his sponsors in his prayers before dinner. So here's what we're going to do. Tristan is going to line up 60 seconds on our clock. And we're going to count you down. You're going to have 60 seconds to name.
I'm getting nervous.
Your parents, your girlfriend, God, all your sponsors that you can thank in 60 seconds. But then that's it. And then we're just talking like a bunch of bros, okay? No more sponsor plugs.
All right.
So the cool thing is he got the first 3 out of the way for you.
Yeah.
So you just jump right into the sponsors. There you go.
That's right. All those people, he said.
So, Tristan, you can count them in, and whenever you're ready.
All right. I mean, I've got a nice running clock here, so whenever you're ready, I'll start it.
All right, here we go.
Go.
In all seriousness, Prevagen came on as the primary sponsor last year at a couple of races, and they came on board for a full season, so definitely wouldn't be behind the wheel without them. Trimtex Drywall Products, they've been a sponsor of mine for a while and got me into IMSA professionally, and I've also been very lucky to take them into NASCAR. Marriott Drywall Materials and Marriott Construction, they're based out of here, Wisconsin, not too far from where we are right now, Veloce Indoor Karting. He's been a big supporter of mine too, and obviously my parents, my mom and my dad, got me into karting at a really young age, and my girlfriend, she supports me and puts up with me. Have had a lot of sponsors through the days, but those are the top 3.
Love it.
All right. Hey, coming in at cool 30 seconds.
Yeah, there we go.
Beating lap times. There you go.
He does everything fast. He's a professional race car driver.
Yep.
You still got 10 seconds. Anything else?
Anyone else?
Thank God. Thank you.
There you go. There it is. Awesome. So that's it now. We're done. So, Andrew, you want to kick us off here with the first question for Josh?
Sure. I spent some time watching videos, other interviews you have. I'm trying not to repeat stuff. but there's things we just got to ask. So the first thing, right off the bat, everyone asks this question in some form. You've described your rise into the NASCAR as a progression, like a very natural kind of thing. But we're looking for when the racing bug really hit you. I mean, was there one point where you're standing on a podium, maybe you're holding the cup, maybe you're holding the trophy, and you're like, oh man, I can do this? What was that real moment?
I started karting at a really young age, and I don't think it actually hit me until maybe I was in my teens, and I was in shifter karts, and we were racing, and I was doing pretty well, and I was racing motocross at the time too, but I knew I had a shot in cars versus motocross where I was only an amateur rider. When we moved to cars, though, I think that was when it really hit me that I could do well, and I think I was probably 14 or 15 years old when I said to myself, I can turn this into a career if I play it smart. So I'd probably say, in my early teens, 13, 14, 15, when I moved to Spec Miata from karting.
Wow, that's cool. I guess I didn't realize you had moved into Spec Miata that early.
I had my racing license before I had my driver's license. So
That's
it was pretty
awesome.
cool. This is a cool story, and honestly, God, this is the truth. I learned how to drive stick shift when I was 14 in a parking lot right by my house by Cabela's in Richfield in my Spec Miata in the race car. That's also where my dad took me, the same parking lot where he took me to learn how to drive a shifter kart. So
Wow.
Nice.
very cool.
That's awesome.
So wait, is there some family lineage here? Was your dad a kart racer, or?
My dad has always been involved in racing. He's always loved going to Indy 500, loved NASCAR growing up. And he said to himself, why don't I race? So when I was born in 1995, he actually bought a 1965 Mustang that needed some body work, needed some stuff done. So he turned that car into a race car. So he did that the year I was born, and I've been going to the racetrack ever since. So he just does it as a hobby, but he got me started at a young age, hoping that it would progress to kind of where it is today. So my dad definitely got me into karting, into racing.
Awesome.
Nice.
It's always a family thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, Nick, you were you raced karts as well, and kind of had that same thing.
Yeah, I was. Well, this isn't my interview, but yeah, I went to the Indy 500 in the womb.
That's cool.
So my parents went to their first Indy 500 in '79 when they were dating. They took me to my first. Well, again, in the womb I was there, but they took me to my first one in '97 when I was 9.
Okay.
Haven't missed one since.
He was 2 then.
Wow.
I know. Shut up. Yes. Hey, guess what? We're all older than him because we're all the same age.
It's not
So
important.
let's leave that out of this.
No, we're not all the same age. As we discussed in the previous episode, I'm 1,000,000 years old.
That's right.
So
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Old soul. But yeah, so it's the same thing. My dad, through friends of his, was on pit crews, various pit crews at Slinger. He was a spotter for the super late models up there for a while. So I was little Nick running around taking rags to people, or give this wrench to this guy,
Yeah.
or roll this tire over here. So I mean, I've been in it since.
You got bit by the racing bug at a young age, just like I did.
Yeah, and it makes me think of what I actually did with my life, because so did he. Here he is racing an Xfinity series, and here I am
Sad podcast.
talking on a podcast. Yeah, so I totally get where you're coming from. Side note, how crazy are shifter cars? Just give people an idea of what those things are like.
To this day, I think a shifter kart has to be the most fun thing I've ever driven. I mean, if they're geared properly, they can go to 0 to 100 miles per hour, back down to 0 in under 10 seconds. And the only thing that comes close equivalent would be an Indy car or a Formula One car.
That's such a crazy comparison, because that was you in that at 13 versus the pinnacles of motorsport. No matter who
I
you
ran an
ask.
80cc shifter from age 13 to 14, then a 125, and 0 to 60 speed is about the same, but the 125 has a higher speed top end, about 135 miles per hour at a track like Road America. So
135 miles an hour. Bear in mind, shifter carts, you're like 4 inches off the ground.
Oh, yeah. Less than that.
I'm saying like it feels like your eyes are that far off
just
the
to
ground.
put it in perspective, in the NASCAR Xfinity car, where we have about 700 horsepower, you go around Road America at around 2 minutes 15 seconds. In a shifter cart, it's about 2 minutes 25 seconds.
So a 10-second
It's only 10
differential.
seconds different. In a Spec Miata, we were at 2 minutes and 43 seconds, so much faster than a Spec Miata around a track like Road America, but it's also very dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think they do that much anymore, to be honest
They
with
don't
you.
race shifter carts at Road America.
Not on the big track.
Not on the big track.
On the
On the full track, 4 mile track.
Not on there, yeah. So, very cool. So, why you start off road racing? You mentioned Spec Miata.
Yep.
And we know you've done some IMSA stuff. You've done some Trans Am stuff. So, where did the switch to NASCAR come about? And I think on top of that, that first story about your first NASCAR
Yeah.
ride is a great story. So
It's unique. So in 2016, we had lined up some races in the Trans Am TA2 car, and it was kind of a backyard operation. You know, the car wasn't in the best shape, and we were originally set to run the TA2 car at Mid-Ohio. We missed that race. We were going to run it at Road America, but a couple weeks beforehand, we figured out that we weren't going to run. So I was just shooting around and thinking, what can I do? You know, I want to try to find a ride for this race weekend. So out of the blue, I looked at the NASCAR Xfinity Series entry list, and I saw that Biker Racing had 2 of their cars to be announced, their drivers, and this was the Monday of. So I thought, what the heck, I'm going to go on Facebook and try to find the team owner's number, the team manager's number. Well, I couldn't find any of his phone numbers, but I found their Facebook page, and I messaged him saying, you know, this is my home track, I'm local, I've ran here before, and think I can do well for you if you need a driver. Well, he messaged me back right away and said, Josh, please call our team owner, or our team manager. So I called him right away. And he said, well, you know, first things first, see if you can get your NASCAR Xfinity Series license, which was a very easy process for me because IMSA is owned by NASCAR, and I had my IMSA license already.
That's right.
there you go.
So I had a sponsor come on board, Marriott Drywall Materials out of Waukesha. They came on board, and, you know, it was my first NASCAR race. So it was a very unique story, just interesting. You know, it was a whole interesting process.
Just taking advantage of an opportunity, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Worst they can do is say no.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, that's what my dad taught me. You know, don't be afraid to ask questions because the worst they can say is no.
Awesome. So then that was the intent there just like a one-off, or was it you kind of got in, you did it once, and you're like, okay, this is where I want to be? Like, how did the full-time switch to NASCAR come about?
At first, it was just a one-off. You know, at first I just wanted to be a road course ringer. You know, you see guys like Boris said who just primarily run road courses. And then after
You
Road
almost
America,
have Boris Said's hair, by the way. Make it a
That's
little
what I
curlier. Make it a little
I
curlier.
met Boris last year, and people said I could have been his son. It's true. But yeah, at Road America, we started talking about trying to do some ovals, and Victor Robica, the team owner, invited me back in late 2016 to run 2 ovals. You know, Phoenix and Miami, and those are my first real ovals ever. You know, I went to high school in Slinger, but I never raced at Slinger. I never really had any real apps at Slinger. I ran a couple of sportsman races in Jefferson in 2012, I think, long time ago, but completely different scenario. So after those 2 races, I thought to myself, you know, it's much easier to sell sponsorship in NASCAR, and I think I can make a living easier than I would in sports cars. So at the end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017 is definitely when I made the mindset of, all right, I'm going to go to NASCAR.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we've talked about kind of what you've been in. You've been in IMSA, currently NASCAR. On those stages, we kind of talked about, you know, the first bite where it was like, oh, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
When did it hit you that like this was the big time? Like you are going to repeatedly see yourself on TV. You're going to have an amateur group of 3 people interview you for their fantastic podcast. Yeah. When was the like, oh man, this is the big time moment? When was that?
Probably not until earlier this year, actually, when I signed the full season deal. Just because last year were always one-off races. You know, I ran 2 cup races last year, but as a driver, not having a full season ride, you never know which race is going to be your last. I mean, you know, you could lose sponsorship or just not get the phone call again. So, you know, it was cool to be on track with Kyle Busch and all the NASCAR stars last year, but I had no idea what it was going to progress to this year. And, you know, things are looking pretty positive for the future going next year. But
Very good.
I definitely thought, you know, to myself, all right, this is cool. You know, this is when it actually becomes real earlier this year when we went full season.
How cool are those driver intros when you come out from behind like on that
They're
semi-trailer
awesome.
with
Yeah.
the thing and you got the whole crowd right there?
Cup Series driver intros are awesome. I mean, you're standing next to all the top names. I mean, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, you know, guys that I've looked up to growing up. You're standing next to them and, you know, you're driving the truck around with them. Last year at New Hampshire, Kyle Larson and I shared a truck for driver intro, so I thought that was really cool. And that, you know, that bit me pretty hard too, you know, being on the truck with him and just talking to him like we're 2 normal people.
So are they big time in you? Are they cool to talk to? I mean,
They're cool. I mean, I show them a lot of respect on the track. Obviously, I'm in a little bit different equipment than they are. So if I show them respect on track, and you know, I'm not going to race them very hard when they're lapping me or just passing me, they all do respect me and they remember the name. And hopefully, one day when I'm in equipment similar to theirs, you know, we'll race each other hard but clean.
I love how you said when, not if. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey.
It'll happen.
That's awesome.
It just might take a few years, but it'll happen.
So you just mentioned, not being in the same equipment as some of those other bigger names, which it's almost like you read this beforehand. It just leads us right into our next question here. So, like, when you compare your team to the rest of the field, so when you're comparing size and scope, and we don't need to get into specific financials or things like that, but what is the size of your team compared to some of those bigger teams? And does that in turn, do you have that underdog mentality, that chip on your shoulder when you go out there?
Yeah. One way to sum it up would be that there are more employees in Hendrick Motorsports working in the gift shop than there are at our team full time.
Whoa.
That's true.
The gift shop. I love it.
That is true. And, there are other teams in the same situation as mine, just small teams running week to week, with very little sponsorship. But, I don't pay much attention to that. It's almost like stage racing, not stage racing, but multi-class racing. I know who we're racing against. For us to walk away with a top 20 finish, that's a big win for us. I know most of the time we're never going to be racing against Joe Gibbs or Junior Motorsports, the teams of that caliber, unless we're on a road course. But on an oval, we're most likely not. So you have to come into it with the right mindset of, all right, I'm racing these 10 drivers for the positions. You want to come out ahead on that. And, a win to me is going to be a top 25 finish or a top 20 finish. On a road course, a win to me would be a top 15 or top 10. But on an oval, it'd be about, top 25, top 20. So it's a different mindset for sure.
So did it take an adjustment period to get used to that mindset? I mean, because obviously as a racer, you're competitive. You want to win.
Yeah.
Like I want to beat you later. I brought my first place trophy. We're competitive about all this stuff. Yeah. Like, so did it take a while for you to kind of sit back and say, okay, maybe we can't lead laps here, but let's just try to come away with the best we can?
It did. Coming from Spec Miata, we never had the best car in Spec Miata. We never had the best motor. We made do with what we could, with what we had, and ran as well as we could. And that definitely helped going into NASCAR. In IMSA, the couple of races I ran, they were with winning teams, and we led 15 laps at my first pro race in IMSA. So going from that to, all right, now we're racing for a top 30 or top 20, is a different mindset. It took me a couple of races to really adjust, because like you said, as a racer, you always want to be racing for the win. I mean, if you're not racing for the win, you're not a racer. But, NASCAR showed me there are some other cases where that might not be true. And, like I said, a win to us would be a top 25 or a top 20.
There you go.
It's like us. We just hit, 150 likes?
Yeah, 150
That's a win.
likes.
We're keeping it in perspective, man.
one.
Thank you, everybody, by the way, for 150 likes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you got, Andrew?
Again, this is probably a question everyone asks, especially when you get interviewed by local papers or Milwaukee Journal, whatever. What's it like to race at Road America? Being the local kid, the track of legend.
It's awesome. My first laps around Road America were actually in a kart, a 100cc kart. And, that was a long time ago. Now moving to Spec Miata, running my first pro race in a BMW, then in a Porsche, then in NASCAR. I have a lot of laps around Road America. But every time I go back and I turn the first lap, whether it's the first lap of the weekend or the first lap of the season, I'm just amazed of the beauty by the place. I mean, it's a natural track with a lot of elevation, a lot of scenery. They don't chop all the trees down. Mm-hmm. They make it really a track that's beautiful. And I think that's why fans love it. I think that's why drivers love it, because it's it's a fast track, it's a challenging track, but at the same time, just the scenery of the track it's awesome. So Road America is my favorite track, and I'm not just saying that because my home track. You hear sports car drivers and NASCAR drivers who come from the world who say the same thing. This is my favorite track. So it's awesome to have that in our backyard.
And you have done some work with Road America as well. I saw your sections for Road America TV.
Yeah.
Is TV work in your future?
I definitely don't want to think about that now, but it could be. I mean, I look at guys like Parker Kligerman, who's a hell of a driver, and he does a lot of NBC work on the side. You look at a lot of drivers like Dale Jr., Dale Jarrett, after their careers are over, they go into announcing. And I think that's something where I definitely could do in the future.
Yeah, I think, let's give it a shot. Let's try a Josh Bilicki interview question.
Okay, go for it.
Let's go with, what's the first song on your playlist?
Addicted.
Addicted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair.
I think that's good. I think that's a good one. Yeah, you got something going there.
Okay.
That's a good
All right,
question.
I think that is. Yeah.
You got what's
let's
next, Tristan? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, coming up next, I'm just unlike some of our earlier transitions, not as smooth.
Right
But,
there it is.
There it is.
It's right there.
There's proof.
I wasn't lying
Hold
to
it
you
up.
guys.
Boom.
Oh, great. Oh, okay. Great song, dude.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Do you have the explicit version or the radio edit?
Well, yeah, it was
It's
explicit.
explicit.
Oh,
Nice.
definitely.
For sure.
Yep.
The E next to it.
So I guess we'll go back to racing, kind of comparing Road America to other tracks. You just finished up at Mid Ohio.
Yep.
What is it like to wrestle, and I'm sure one of the Xfinity Series cars around that track, because it's a roller coaster. We were there. We were hiking up and down it. Like, you can't even see one corner from the next because it's over, a giant hill.
Yeah.
It's got to be just an absolute roller coaster. What's it like to drive something that big, around a track like that?
It definitely doesn't feel like the car is meant to be on the track, especially a track like Mid Ohio. But that's what makes it challenging. I mean, the cars are so heavy. And I was at dinner with some of the fall line drivers who were racing the Trans Am series over the weekend. They were racing their Porsche GT3 Cups. And we were talking about the differences. And our cars are almost identical lap times. His Porsche GT3 Cup car is, running a 1 minute 28. We're running a 1:27 in our Xfinity car.
Wow.
The difference is their car handles great, and he's braking at the 3 marker. I'm braking at the 6 marker. So that's double the braking. So, I mean,
And that's before you lost your brakes.
that's before I lost my brakes. After I lost my brakes, honest to God, it's probably breaking the 10 marker. Wow. But it's a lot of fun. It's just, you have to realize and understand the difference in the weight. Those cars weigh 3,500 pounds, and not big brakes, lots of power. You have to remember that going over the corners and brake points.
So, as a follow-up to that, I mean, it's a car that doesn't really like to stop or turn.
Yeah.
But is it as much wrestling, or is there a mindset where you have to just really be smooth with it, almost like a slow is fast type of mentality?
At Mid Ohio, smooth is fast. The slower you go, the faster you go. I had my teammate who ran IMSA last year. He was GS champion. His name is Dalen Murcott. He was, we were just quizzing each other on the track, and one thing I did tell him, I told a lot of other drivers who didn't have much time at Mid Ohio, that slow is fast. That's not the case for every track, especially in NASCAR. There's some ovals you go to where you do have to wrestle the car around. But at Mid Ohio, slow is fast. Take your time, and there's a finesse driving that track. You don't want to wrestle the car too much, because then you're going to hurt your tires over the long run, and you're going to hurt your lap time.
Except for that Patron car going into the 4-5 complex.
Yeah, that dude
Yeah.
was.
We were watching that IMSA. That was insane.
We thought after 10 laps his front brakes were actually going to blow up. They were so red.
bombing it.
But he.
Where?
Not breaking-
Going into 5?
Yeah, into
Yeah.
he wouldn't break until 4. Just
Yeah.
diving in front of everyone. It was crazy.
He probably made up 10 positions. It was great to watch.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So recently you were at another road course, Watkins Glen.
Yep.
And you did.
We have some opinions on Watkins
Watkins
Glen.
Storied history.
Well, I want to hear them.
Let's start history. We'll get to it. We're interviewing you. We'll get to that later.
That was the
Do that
chuckle.
later.
So yeah, anytime Watkins Glen, he can't help himself anymore. See?
It's all right.
But
we all have
so
stories.
you had your first Monster Energy Cup start of the year there.
Yep.
You did double duty. So this is actually this is a listener question here. So since you've driven both, like the differences between driving the Xfinity car and a Monster Energy Cup car, and going to Watkins Glen, it was on the same track, relatively similar track conditions as far as time of
yeah.
day and rubber. So the difference between driving a Cup car and an Xfinity car. Just take us for a lap around Watkins Glen.
Well, I'll start by saying Saturday was a crazy busy day. It started with Cup practice, then Xfinity qualifying. So I got to jump from car to car to car 3 separate times. The difference is the Xfinity car sits a little bit higher, has a taller ride height, and the car rolls a lot more. I mean, you feel it. You feel like you're actually up taller in that car. Less horsepower, which equivalent to using a little bit less brake. But the Cup car sits really low. It doesn't feel like it moves at all when you're turning. It handles a lot better. Also, Xfinity car is carbureted while the Cup car is fuel injected, and that's a big difference too. I mean, just the response with the throttle, that's a huge thing. Power-wise, as far as speed, doesn't feel like it's a big difference. The top speed in a Cup car at Watkins Glen is about 185. In an Xfinity car, it's about 175, give or take. So it's not a big difference. Lap times are only a second to 2 seconds apart, but where you definitely feel it is the corner speed in the Cup car. You carry a lot more speed through the corners because the car sits really low.
Very cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
So you're welcome, listener. There you go.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
Thanks for the
That was
question.
an awesome question.
yeah, that's great. So then let's just go back to Mid-Ohio for 1 second here. The top 20 finish.
Yeah.
To some listeners, that might not sound like a big deal. We know that's a huge deal.
As we discussed earlier, you got to know who you're racing against.
Uh-huh.
It is a big deal.
Did that feel like a breakthrough moment? Did that feel like momentum?
It definitely did, especially going to Road America next weekend. We do have the momentum now. We were on a budget, and we've had some bad luck these past couple of weeks. Just silly little issues like running out of gas. So it felt great to get that first top 20 of the year. Last year at Road America, we finished 12th on a budget again. We have a full tire sponsor this year. We're very close to having full allotment of brand new tires for Road America. So I really want a top 10 finish at Road America, whether it's strategy or whether it's just racing hard. I think that we can do it. I know that I can do it. I just hope the car stays under me, but I think it will. My JP Motorsports team, they work really hard, and they know that Road America is the most important race of the year for me. So like I said, they're working hard.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
He's calling it. He's calling his shot.
I love it.
As soon as you said full tire allotment, you can just tell the change in your tone of voice. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you're gunning for him
Yeah,
at Road
yeah.
America.
We're close. A set of tires is expensive, about $2,500 set and done. On any weekend, you need about 6 sets, 2 for practice, 4 for the race. So you do the math. That's a lot of money for the season. There are about 10 to 15 cars every weekend that run used tires. We'll buy used tires from top tier teams. They might have 10 laps on them or 5 laps on them, but that's how a lot of teams operate who can't afford to buy tires every weekend. So I'm very lucky that we're very close to that tire budget, and I think that we'll have a good race.
That's awesome. We're coming up there, by the way. We're so excited
we're
to
gonna
see
be there.
that.
It's
Hell
gonna be
yeah.
great.
It's gonna be awesome. What's next on the list here, Andrew? What do you got for us?
Let's stick with racing a little bit. What kind of insider stories you got? No names, obviously, but you got a good shop story. You got something from a post race, maybe something race fans might not know. Whether it's I don't know. What do you got? What can you give us?
Without getting into trouble or incriminating anyone else.
Right.
Yeah, there are things that I know that I can't say. You definitely hear a lot around the garage. I saw a fight this week between drivers who were racing around me the whole race. I won't say their names, but it got pretty heated. It even made the NBC show. On NBC Sports after the race.
Wow.
It's pretty heated. I saw both sides of it because the racing happened right ahead of me on track. And I'm not going to say who was at fault, but there was definitely one driver at fault. But there's a lot of that. I hear a lot of things behind the scenes that probably shouldn't say too much.
No. We're not looking to get you in any hot
Yeah, you were
water.
just talking about earning respect from these people, so we're not going to try to
Yeah.
ruin your career here at this table. So that's
Wow,
not,
that would be horrible.
But that's
Hey,
it would be kind of a
takes
notch
a
in
lot
our
to
belt,
work.
though, right?
Look what we did. We'll never get another interview
It might
again.
gain you a lot of followers.
Yeah, there you go. But no, that's so interesting because we did an episode not too long ago where Nick was kind of telling us about NASCAR, and one of the things that I brought up as a point why I've never really looked into it that hard is that a lot of that stuff can seem very staged. It can come across like, they get into a little shoving match. It seems like it's just done for the
Someone
cameras.
told them to.
Yeah, well, I made the comparison to like wrestling.
Yeah.
But if it's authentic, then it kind of changes it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree. The fight this week in an Xfinity Series was real. And like I said, I saw it happen on track. So I know that was real, but I definitely do agree. Some of it seems staged, but
Come a little,
even some of the staged, even it's real. As crazy as it sound, I've seen things that I never would have thought that I would see in NASCAR. And at this point, nothing surprises me anymore in the sport.
I remember, as long as we're doing stories, this one's not going to get anybody in trouble. I remember, this was probably a Facebook, a post that you had put up.
Yeah.
Could you tell the listeners about, was it you were on the way to the Cup race in Loudon and you got pulled over?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
tell
last
us
year.
about that.
All right, so this is hilarious. Last year, I had the opportunity to race with Rick Ware Racing at 2 Cup races. The first was Sonoma, and the second was New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a very flat 1 mile track. I'd never been there, so I was pretty excited, but a little nervous. Long drive. My girlfriend and I drove her Honda Civic there, and she worked Wednesday night until about 10 p.m. So we left at 11 p.m. We just figured let's drive as far as we can into the night. And I think it's like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, Thursday morning. And I'm going 81 miles per hour in a 70 in Indiana. And I pass a cop, and the cop pulls me over. And he started asking me questions, why are you driving this late? And I go, well, I'm driving to New Hampshire. Well, why are you driving to New Hampshire? For work. I try not to tell people what I do as a profession. He goes, what do you work? And I tell him, all right, well, I'm going for a race. I didn't even tell him I was a driver. Mm-hmm. And this is when it gets funny, because he takes my license, doesn't give me a ticket. He comes back and goes, slow down, you're not a NASCAR driver. And it was hilarious the way he said it, because he said it because he knew I was going to the race. And I started laughing at him. My girlfriend, who was sleeping, I woke her up. She started laughing. And the cop looks at us really funny, and almost like we're disrespecting him. Mm-hmm. And I tell him, well, all right, actually, I am a NASCAR driver. We're going because I'm a driver. He almost didn't believe me, so I pulled out a business card and I gave it to him. I said, you can keep it. And he let me go with a warning, and it's just a funny story. We posted on social media, on Facebook, and it blew up.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That guy thought he was being so smart.
Yeah, he did. He thought he was being very slick.
That goes to show police officers, you never know who you're actually going to pull over.
Yeah. That's
right.
So please be respectful. That's awesome. So
It was a funny story.
That's a great story.
That made the whole weekend worth it.
Really? Not driving a cup race at Loudon?
That did too.
Second best.
Second best, maybe?
Yeah.
What else we got? Let's rattle off some, you know what? We're going to do some quick housekeeping. Guys, Tesla heat check, in or out?
Out.
Tesla, in or out? Out. There we go.
Okay.
So 4 outs. We're still
And we
good
move
there.
on.
And we move on. Josh, what's your dream car? Road car.
I love Porsche 911 GT2 RS.
Ooh.
The 2RS, not the GT3, not the regular old 911, but the specifically
The GT2 RS.
All right. Interesting. Any particular reason? Just feel?
I'll say I'm gonna channel my college professors. Show your work.
I love Porsches. Before my NASCAR career, I basically made a living off of private coaching. And a lot of my clients had Porsches, whether it's a GT3. I have yet to drive a GT2 RS because they're pretty rare, but they're very fast, and you don't see many of them at the track. But I love the GT3 RS. I've done quite a bit of driving and coaching in the GT3 RS, the brand new 991, and they're just great cars all around. I mean, you can drive them to the track, hammer them on the track, and then drive them home if you make it through the day. But I just love Porsches. I've been lucky to race a couple Porsches. And, I'm a big European car guy. I drive an Audi. I had a BMW. But, my dream car
You just stole his heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
I have a hashtag going with the podcast. Fun Tristan's Audi.
There you go.
I drove hand-me-downs for many, many years, and now I'm in the position of having to fund them myself.
Yeah.
And it's not happening. So.
Well, I am very lucky to have driven a lot of cool cars, but I still think the Porsche to this day is my favorite. And I said the GT2 RS specifically because I think that's a pretty rare car, and the lap time it posted around the Nürburgring is pretty crazy. But it's also realistic. It's not like you're going to be driving a Bugatti around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel guilty driving a Bugatti around. That's why I think the GT2 RS would be a good fit.
Why? Why would you feel guilty driving a Bugatti?
Well, we can start by saying, it's a multi-million-dollar car.
What happens when you get that first door ding? That's what you got to ask yourself.
Or parallel parking that thing.
I don't think you're doing that in the Bugatti. I got to say, I don't think you're
Someone
parallel.
is parallel parking it for you. Let's face it.
It's a very
That's
good
true.
valet that you tip a very
That's
large
true.
amount of money to do that for you.
I don't think in my profession I'll ever be able to own a Bugatti, so I don't think I got to worry about that.
I don't know, man. I mean, some of those guys making some pretty big coin. You're going to get there someday.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, that's true, but hopefully I'm a little bit smarter with my money.
There you go.
Buy a Bugatti.
I like
That's the
that
real
answer.
answer.
He's
That's
throwing,
the
now
real
he's
one.
throwing shade at him, too. That's
Oh, yeah.
nice.
So we've talked about iRacing. Nick loves it.
yeah.
Nick's seen other race drivers on it. Tristan, you've driven it a bit.
I've been very bad at iRacing several times. Yes.
And
yes.
you, on your YouTube channel, you uploaded a comparison video of you, I think it was in the Spec Miata, doing a lap of VAR and doing it in the sim. I mean...
That's very long ago, but yes.
Is it really that authentic? I mean, we've talked about it being the closest thing to real. Is that the truth?
It's 100% the truth. I was on iRacing for 2 hours last night practicing for Bristol, and it helps me pick up, brake points, turn-in points, just get the feel of the track. Because not coming from a circle track or a short track background, when I go to tracks like Bristol, it's challenging for me. So I can go out on iRacing and log hundreds of laps and race with other drivers, learn how to race, learn how to pass. That's been my biggest challenge of the year, honestly, learning how to pass on ovals. Because you don't get it just done in just one corner, You hear guys say slide job.
Junior yells
Dale
that a
Jr.
lot.
yells slide job, but it's hard, and I can go on iRacing and practice those skills, and hopefully it helps me in real life. And I've found it has helped me in real life. Going to New Hampshire a couple weeks ago, I go on iRacing in the Xfinity car, which is laser scanned by NASCAR or by iRacing, and they laser scan the track, so everything is identical. So 100%, I would recommend it. It helps me a lot.
Even enough where it could be like a good starting point for someone who wants to get in?
I mean, you look at guys like William Byron, who, supposedly he made his start on iRacing. He ran legend cars for a little bit after his iRacing days, and he got noticed by, Dale Jr. on iRacing, and you look where he is now. He's in the Cup Series. He won the Xfinity Series championship. He won the Truck Championship, and that all started with iRacing.
Wow.
So there are some unique ways.
Yeah.
That is why iRacing should be in the Video Game Hall of Fame and not Mario Kart.
It was like episode
You
4.
never heard a story of anybody saying, "Oh yeah, I got into NASCAR because I was really good on Mario Kart."
Yeah.
Well, remember, it's the Racing Video Game Hall of Fame, not the Racing Career Builder Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's a good point.
Josh is with me on this.
I am.
See,
But I do love Mario Kart.
See?
That was our winner.
And I will say it's probably the only game that my girlfriend could beat me in, racing-wise.
Yeah, my wife can beat me. What is that?
But I will say,
because that's not realistic.
If you learn how to play it right, that's exactly why. If you learn how to play it right, you can position yourself where you're, a second behind, going around the last corner, and you'll just slingshot past the person. So I just
he
told
still
you all
has racing
my
tactics
secrets.
on it, though. Yeah, we don't spill them all.
I got just a couple more things here. So much of racing focuses on that podium, on that win. But we kind of want to know, at least I want to know, what's it like, that moment where oh shit, I'm going to crash out? I'm thinking like in 2016, you going into Road America, brakes are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have time to be on the radio like, okay guys, in about 10 seconds here?
No.
Or is it just swearing?
Or just silence as you try to control yourself.
Silence.
All the above.
I mean, actually, to be completely honest, I thought that we were going to crash in Mid-Ohio. There was one point where I was actually passing one of my friends, Spencer Boyd, into Turn 4, which is the heaviest brake point at Mid-Ohio. And I knew my brakes were starting to go away, but they had gone completely to the floor. They were stiff when I initially pressed them, and the pedal just traveled, and went right to the floor, and the car was not slowing down. I was a split second away from turning right, jumping over the curb so I wouldn't hit my friend Spencer Boyd and tear up his car, and then going into the grass and just praying for the best. Mm-hmm. But something told me just pump the brakes. I already lifted a little bit earlier to hopefully not have that happen, and that saved me because I had time to lift my foot off the brakes and pump them up and continue to stop. So that happened at Mid-Ohio. Road America, my first NASCAR race, we lost brakes going into one. That's at 175, 180 miles per hour. Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
The front brake bleeder screw came unscrewed. It was loosened up, and I lost all the fluid in the front. And it happened so quick, you have no time to say anything other than when you're already in the wall. So,
Right.
Things happen quick. You saw Bubba Wallace a couple weeks ago hit the wall really hard at Pocono. And everyone says, going into turn 1 at Pocono, you're at 205 miles per hour. As a driver, you remind yourself that you want to try to turn right rather than turning left down the track and hitting the wall almost straight on. You'd rather turn right into the wall and just drag yourself around the wall.
Yeah.
But as a driver, things happen so quick, you just don't have time to react.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely you just never know as a fan, because a lot of times when they'll show like in-dash,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously as a driver, you're trained when you realize you're going to crash. Okay, don't try to do anything. Just kind of go limp and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But, you always wonder, are you, after that, when you get back, what does the crew generally say? I mean...
If it's a brake failure, there's really not much you can do.
Right.
Unfortunately, my teammate Dylan Murcott, his race ended on lap 1 this week, and he had a brake failure. There's nothing he could do about it. At that point, the team just assesses the damage and sees where the blame is at. If it's a driver, I don't believe I was hard on the brakes this race weekend, and I don't think I was. But there have been times in a big, heavy car where, all right, I'm using too much brake, and that's why the brake pedal goes to the floor. I think we had a small leak this weekend or something. But, the blame could be placed on the driver or the crew, or just the car, just the fault.
Just the concept of using too much brake, it's kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
It's kind of a backwards way of
and
thinking,
for
isn't
people
it?
that don't know what that means, that's basically going out and running a qualifying lap every lap of the race.
Right, of
Braking at the
course.
last possible second. During the race, you do have to back your brake points up a little, but if you have the right brake assembly, brake, cylinder on the car, you shouldn't have to do that.
Well, and a concept they brought in a lot this year at Road America, the IMSA race at Road America, cool down laps.
Yeah.
Where, we had one race where the leader was running 10 seconds off his qualifying time throughout the middle of the race.
Yeah.
Just because there's no one around him.
Yeah.
So,
They didn't
Save the
need to,
equipment if
yeah.
you don't need it. If you don't need to use it.
yeah.
So we've talked a lot about your racing itself.
Yep.
Outside of racing, you've done a lot. You've come here to do this interview with us, do a little bit of driving later.
Thank you.
You've done, full length spots for Prevagen. You mentioned before your full-time ride, you were doing, driver training, driver coaching, stuff like that. How active are you outside of racing, like on a regular basis? Like we've been able to see, some of that in the interview here, but what kind of other stuff are you out there doing? Are you like, doing ads for racing seats or, video games or whatever else? Have you done a spot for iRacing yet?
Well, obviously, almost everything you just mentioned has that common denominator of racing. As a NASCAR driver, you're racing 33 races a year, so I drive to almost every race, so that takes up 2 whole days of driving there and driving back. You don't really have much of a life outside of racing. Obviously, I'm very thankful that I have a girlfriend and family that understand that, this is my career, this is what I love, and, I'm not going to be able to go to my friend's party, whether it's a wedding or birthday party at the bar because I'm going to be racing. It is nice to have a weekend off, but the only 2 weekends I've had off this year, I found myself at Road America. Honest to God, the first weekend I had off, we ran a Trans Am TA2 car at the Vintage Race Weekend, the Spring Vintage Race Weekend. The second weekend I had off was during IndyCar weekend at Road America, and I actually went there to work for Road America and interviewed some IndyCar drivers, so that was cool. My whole life is based around racing. I mean, if I'm not in the seat, I'm trying to figure out a way to get in a seat, whether it's another race for a cup car or trying to find more sponsorship for our Xfinity Series program. I do a lot of private coaching, but that's kind of slowed down a little bit now that I'm racing full-time. 33 races is a lot. Said and done, probably 37, 38 races with everything included. So I like to go hiking a lot with my girlfriend. It's just really peaceful. We're going to Mackinac Island.
Great spot.
In between Bristol and Road America.
Awesome.
I think that'll be really well needed for me to kind of clear my mind after Bristol.
They don't have
America.
cars on Mackinac Island, I don't think.
I don't know.
What are you going to do?
They don't. Yeah.
I know they got a bridge that takes you there, and we're going right away Sunday, so I'm looking forward to that before Road America. But spend time with my girlfriend and my family. But most of the time it's just racing.
So you had mentioned, finding sponsorship for the Xfinity program or for any of your racing programs. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand the business side of this is almost more time consuming, especially for the smaller teams than the driving side.
Yep.
So, kind of talk us through some of those business. Like, how do you convince someone that, hey, you funding my childhood dream fits your business model?
That's a great question. I consider myself more of a business person than I do a race car driver. Sometimes, I spend all week looking for a sponsor to cover, 2 sets of tires, which is $5,000, and that's a lot of money. But at the same time, you think about what it actually gets you, and it's only 2 sets of tires for a race. So almost all of my free time at home is spent on the computer, researching, making phone calls. Today I drove to Green Bay to meet with a sponsor for Road America, Trudeau Performance. He's buying me a set of tires for Road America, so
Beautiful.
that means a lot to me to have people like that in my career to help me out. It's just so tough, to convince a company to give you X amount of money for a full season. You need to show them the value of the sport, and that's part of the reason why I went from sports car racing to NASCAR, because I feel as a driver, and I think I've proven it, that there are more eyes on NASCAR versus sports car racing. I love sports car racing, but you go to any given race weekend, there's going to be more fans, there's going to be more TV views at a NASCAR race. That's a big way to sell a sponsorship for NASCAR. Another big thing could be, just pit passes. Being able to experience the race up close, behind the pits, seeing things that you would never be able to see unless you have these pit passes. If a sponsor comes on board, I'll give them, it could be 8 or 10 or 15 pit passes for their best customers. If you own a business and you do business with another customer or with a customer, you invite them to the track. It's an awesome way to say thank you for your business. So there are a lot of different ways you can sell a sponsor. Those are the couple that I've found successful this year, whether just bringing customers to the track and, like with Prevagen. Prevagen has been a great supporter of mine this year and last year. We invite Shopco customers to the track because Prevagen is sold in Shopco stores or GNC. We've done meet and greets at GNCs and Shopcos, and that's one way that I convinced Prevagen. We kind of came up with that together, and it's been really cool to experiment with everything with Prevagen too, because it's not them just telling me, hey, we're going to do a meet and greet. It's us actually brainstorming and thinking of ways that we can benefit everyone, so that we see their marketing dollars go to the best use.
And as long as you mentioned Prevagen, I can't remember. What do they do again?
You're funny. Prevagen is a memory loss pill.
Oh, that's right.
And they're Wisconsin based. That's a big one.
I've got one more, Andrew, real quick to more off the track stuff. There's I don't think it's much of a debate anymore, but there used to be that debate, race driver versus athlete. So like what's your exercise? Obviously you think race drivers are athletes, we all do. How do you keep yourself in shape? Because it's a long time in these cars.
Yeah. I mean, going back to sports car racing, you have endurance races, which are, anywhere from 2 hours to 3 hours to 4 hours. Well, you look at a NASCAR race, and a NASCAR race is typically 3 hours to 4 hours. And that's one driver in a car that's up to 140, 150 degrees in the car the whole race.
Cooking.
Damn.
Chicagoland was hot. Chicagoland was about 155 degrees in the car. And I know that because Justin Allgaier had thermostat in his car. After it read 153 degrees,
I watched that.
It got so hot, all it said was high. It wouldn't say. It didn't tell.
He broke the thermostat.
It's very hot. So I do a lot of cardio, biking, running, mainly biking to be honest. I love biking on the roads. I live in Lamira, so the roads are pretty open. It's fairly safe to bike up there, but cardio is the biggest thing. You don't need a lot of muscle to muscle these cars around. You just need the physical endurance to stay in the seat. Not fall off at lap 100 of a 200 lap race. The G-forces in these Xfinity cars and the Cup cars on the ovals are incredible. I mean, something I had never experienced other than maybe going around the carousel and the kink at Road America. But that's triple or quadruple the G-forces that you pull in the Xfinity cars or Cup cars.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just goes to show how out of shape I am. There was earlier this year in one of my kart races, we had a 12-lap final. At lap 10, I was begging for the checker.
Listen, you got to keep the car tight. Man.
Karting is a great way. I mean, I have said for the past 3 or 4 years, I want to buy a shifter kart. And I've had some friends who've let me drive their shifter karts, and you use muscles that you don't use in the car to keep your head up, to keep your weight up. And, I mean, even after 15 laps, 20 laps in a shifter kart, I'm getting tired.
It's not a shifter, but you have an open invitation. You can drive Miami 100 anytime if you're looking for a track day.
I will.
Hit me up. We can go out on a Saturday and we can tool around.
Yeah, let's
for
do it.
sure. What time have we got here? Well, we got some time, right?
About 10, 15 minutes or so.
I got a good question.
I want to get into some rapid fire too before.
All right, we'll do it. I got
one more. Yeah, one more legit one maybe.
Yeah, this is totally legit. There's not one picture.
Is it?
It is completely
Okay.
legit. You'll see. There's not one picture of any race driver with helmet hair. My man came through today with the
gosh.
wet curl look. So I gotta know, what's the secret? Give it up, man. What are you using?
I think I can prove you wrong because I've had some wicked helmet hair. I'm telling you. I like the longer hair, kind of like I have. I mean, it's not too long, but it's different. You see every driver now, not every driver, but a lot of drivers have to have that clean cut look. Mm-hmm. And I think being clean cut is important, but I also like to be different. I mean, you look at some guys like Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney, they have the old school look.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't Eric Jones have a mullet?
He had a mullet, yeah, not anymore. That was a little bit.
And he's from Michigan. He's not even from the South.
Yeah, that was a little too far, but I don't know. I mean, that's funny you asked that because I was watching an interview with Alex Bowman yesterday, right after his race, post-race, and it was the same thing. You know, I saw his hair perfect. And my hair never looks like that. So I mean, it might be the top tier team. Something with them, you know, maybe
they give them like extra special.
Yeah, they have hair product in their helmet. So when they're ready, you know, they just
They just take the helmet off, run a brush through it, and they're good.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what it is. They hop out of the car. I mean, they drive it into, you know, the winner's circle area, fresh off the track, pop the helmet off, and it's just glowing.
An honest answer could be that maybe, you know, you're so sweaty that you get to style your hair however you want before the interview. Maybe they just. I think that could be it. 'Cause maybe that's why.
That might be it. Actually, it looks like hair gel, but it's actually just sweat.
It's gross.
Yeah.
That's pretty gross.
Oh, boy.
We want to do some rapid fire to kind of wrap this thing up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right, Josh. This is just quick. First thing that comes to your head. Favorite wing sauce?
Teriyaki. I love teriyaki.
Okay.
Okay.
You're making me hungry.
Well, let's stick with wings then. Are you drums or flats? The legs or the...
Or boneless.
Boneless.
Yes.
I don't even know what flats.
That's
the actual wing.
Yeah, that's what it's called. I learned that this year.
I'll just stick with boneless.
See, the wings the actual winglets are a scam, dude, because you do more work for less meat.
It's not
Yeah.
about the work.
See,
it's-
because I've become a civilized human,
I'm not
where I
doing
don't
this
have
with
to
you right
tear
now.
meat off the bone anymore.
I'm not
Yeah.
doing this
I can
with
just
you right
I can
now.
just eat what I want to eat. It's
It's
great.
too much work.
That's ridiculous.
I did not get this Juan Pablo Montoya-esque physique by eating bone-in wings. All right.
All right.
How many wings do you think Montoya could put down?
Judging by some of the last
I
photos,
thought we said we
maybe-
weren't going to end any careers today.
No, we're gonna. maybe 30.
30 wings in a sitting?
Yeah, at least.
Rapid fire, Tristan. What do you got?
Well, I think I might already know the answer. A question dear to my heart: Are you iOS or Android?
And iOS.
Yeah, there you go.
Almost
See,
that.
he's full of right answers today.
iOS for sure.
All right, the best pizza topping.
I love barbecue chicken,
Ooh.
Are you
and
Tristan
I don't mind.
in a
I
different
don't
mind?
mind pineapple on it either.
Oh, I don't.
I'm gonna
Okay.
end my career by saying that.
That's your career ender? Pineapple pizza?
I see it all over social media.
Someone at Pizza Hut just crossed your name off. Nope.
Not sponsoring his ass.
No promo pizza for that guy.
Toilet paper. The paper goes over the top or backwards?
Backwards.
That a boy.
Well, see, first wrong answer.
No, I think my girlfriend does it over the top. I don't know. Sometimes I find it that way, but definitely backwards.
Someone's doing it.
Someone's doing it out there. I don't know who it is. I'm going to find him or her. What else we got for rapid fire?
Let's see here. So, did you pick the livery for the colors for the livery, or is that Prevagen?
Those are Prevagen colors. They designed it in house. I think the car looks great. We've
does.
been running a white car these past couple weeks, which also looks great. I think it's very easy to read the logos. I know we put a poll on Facebook a couple weeks ago, blue or white. Almost everyone voted blue. We've been running two Prevagen cars these past couple weeks. We've been running the blue and the white. I've been in the white. But look for an even new design coming in a couple weeks, maybe even at Road America.
Ooh, yeah. Well, see, what I like about the blue and the green is like, so, and a lot of teams, especially if they rotate sponsors, it's got to be some sort of generic, it's black and it's white, or it's white
Yep.
and it's red, or you might get some yellow in there. You're the only one out there with blue and lime green.
Yeah.
You're the only one.
I
You can pick
agree.
you out from a mile away. Well, many miles away, depending how big the track is.
I completely agree. There's been times where my car right now with the white have been mistaken for Christopher Bell in a white Toyota, you know, just the front of it, or some other drivers. The blue, we were the only blue Toyota. So
Easy for the
you
spotters,
guys,
right?
yeah, you guys will like the new design for sure.
Awesome.
Awesome. Any other rapid fires?
What is your next big racing goal? Is it that top 10?
Top 10 for sure. That's short term. Long term would be to finish top 20 in points. I think that'd be a pretty big achievement for us.
Heck yeah.
Maybe even top 15.
Nice.
If you could, throw in the time machine if you'd like, any race car in the history of motorsports,
Oh.
what one would you want to do a lap in? And what track would you take it on? Besides Road America. We've talked about Road America. We know Road America would win. But
despite how much we talk about Road America, they refuse to give us media credentials or anything
haven't
else.
yet.
So
I can change
just say
that.
put in a good word for us.
I can change that.
Yeah, that's great.
I love Road America, but I would love to drive an old school Porsche prototype around Le Mans.
there you go.
Excellent choice.
That's
There
a
you
hot
go.
answer.
Yeah.
There's too many really cool old school Porsche prototypes to name. I'd be happy with any.
Pre-chicanes on the Mulsanne?
I'm just going to ask that.
Or with the chicanes?
Would you like to be driving a plane or a car? Is really the question that he's asking
Yeah.
you.
I like the chicanes.
Err on the side of
But
caution a little
it
bit?
would be cool to do 250 miles per hour, but also it would be a little scary.
That's got to be terrifying.
Yeah. NASCARs, you sit in the car and you feel safe. You feel like, all right, I could wad this thing out. Not that you want to, but
Wad this thing
but
up. Is that a southern
I've
term
sat-
you've learned
yeah.
this year? Wad this thing up?
I've sat in some old school cars that I'm thinking to myself, man, how did somebody do 210 miles per hour in this car? It just feels like a bullet.
Yeah.
It feels like it's about to go off in flames.
I wasn't even moving. Obviously, I was a kid, but I got to sit in the ADT Champion R8 when they brought it to the dealer down in Milwaukee. They took the steering wheel out and let people sit in it, and it was like, wow, there's nothing to this car. I was a little kid at the time, and I stepped on it, and the whole thing started to roll with the weight of a middle school kid
Yeah.
on it, and so there's nothing to it. Open topped. How do people drive these things so fast?
And those cars were even
and
relatively
even
safe.
those were safe.
Yeah.
They didn't feel kind of like that nice safe
Yeah.
cage like a NASCAR, much less compared to some of the earlier
Yeah.
ones that you're mentioning. That even was wow, you're just kind of hanging out here.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
and that wasn't even moving. So
All right, last question then. You have to answer this question.
I'll answer.
How bad are you about to beat us on this track?
I don't even want to say. I don't want to make you guys cry.
Ooh.
No, in all seriousness, I think Nick and I'll have a really good race.
Yeah, it'll definitely be between
And
you
then-
two. We're not
and
gonna
then
be
I
don't
think
worry,
it's gonna
Andrew.
be-
You
I
and
think
I
it's
can
gonna
race
be
each
you
other.
two.
You'll still beat me.
So now you'll know how Josh feels when he's racing in Xfinity. You guys can
Yeah.
race amongst
We're gonna
yourselves.
let it. Yeah, we're gonna let
Yeah,
him go.
just move out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, what kind of wager do we want to put down for you and me? What do you think?
You get to buy me boneless wings.
If you
I
win,
win.
okay, I will buy you boneless wings. If I win, I get to drive the car.
All right, I'll give you my team owner's number and you can call him.
You have
can
his
arrange that.
permission.
He will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
So-
will call him.
Yeah, don't. I was in sales, man.
There you go.
I'll make calls.
Remember, he got us this interview. Anything's possible.
That's true.
So-
By the way, thanks, Veloce.
We're gonna get to that. Don't make us look that bad, dude. You're gonna make us look bad on the track as it is. I normally, as we wrap up, we would kind of put it out to thank yous, but I think it goes without saying. Josh Bilicki, future NASCAR star, best of luck to you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to Neil and his team at Veloce Indoor Speedway Milwaukee for having us here. Anybody in the Milwaukee area, if you're looking for bachelor parties, birthday parties for the kids, corporate outings like team building activities, whatever it is, or if you just want to show up and drive, scratch that itch.
It's something to do on a rainy weekend.
Something to
It's
do on a
inside.
rainy weekend. It's inside. It's electric. You're not harming the environment.
I had my bachelor party here. It was literally the best time. It was so awesome.
Please, guys, come pay Neil and his team a visit here at Veloce Indoor Speedway Milwaukee. They will take great care of you. Thank you to all those listeners out there. Whether you tuned in on Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Overcast, Breaker.audio, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, or Castbox, or of course Anchor.fm/Check Engine Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please reach out to us on social. We're on Facebook at Check Engine Podcast. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Check Engine Pod. Go give Josh a follow as well. It's Josh Bilicki Racing.
Yep.
On all the
On
platforms.
Facebook.
On Facebook. What do you got for Twitter,
Twitter
and
and
Insta?
Instagram are Josh Bilicki.
Just at Josh Bilicki. Go get in touch with him. Super cool kid, great with his time, and you're gonna get to say, I knew him when he's a big star raising those big trophies someday.
That's right.
Oh man, well I appreciate that.
Get in early.
Get in early.
Get in on the ground floor like
Get
we did.
in on it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, here's a quick question before we close. If we were to show up on Saturday at Road America with a Check Engine Podcast sticker,
He'll be on the car.
Awesome. There we go.
there it is.
We got him today. Let's go.
You want, what do you think, a poster? I was thinking because it's a circle sticker right on the steering wheel.
Just right there.
Is that too distracting or will that fall off?
Not on the steering wheel. Let's put it on the windshield. You guys have seen Talladega Nights?
Yes.
Right there.
It's
That's
gonna be
perfect.
in place of the Fig Newton sticker.
Nice.
There you go.
That's going to be awesome. Josh, thank you so much. Veloce, thank you so much. Listeners, thank you so much. We're going to go get our asses kicked, and we can't wait to talk to you guys again. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye guys.